Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Isabela Maldonado, and today I will be talking about how AI will help us be better leaders. So, before I begin my talk, I just want to thank Frankie for the amazing opportunity to be part of this inspiring group of leaders in the industry. I feel incredibly lucky to be sharing the stage with all the amazing talent across all these amazing industries. And as well, Frankie, I want to congratulate you on doing an amazing job of bringing us all together because I think in this era and this stage of technology where everything's advancing so quickly and everything's changing and there's a thousand different opinions, it's so important to have a group and to have a community in which you can discuss ideas, you can share insights, and you can grow the technology for a better future. So, congratulations and thank you again for inviting me today. A little about me. Again, my name is Isabela Maldonado. I am the innovation head plus AI strategist currently at a fashion luxury startup settled in Station F here in Paris. Its name is Retroverse, and we specialize in the digitalization and authentication of luxury goods. As well, I count with the certifications from the New York Times Journalism Academy, the JP Morgan Investment Banking Program, SCAD Design, LIM College for PR and runway production. I'm currently at the middle of my fashion business bachelor's degree at Instituto Marangoni, Paris. So very young, very ambitious, and an incredibly multidisciplinary individual. And I think this is amazing and inspiring for me as well, to dive into the AI industry. I think the AI industry inspired me so much because I've always been a person, I think you can kind of see from all my experience, in which I see something as a challenge, I see something that's new, and my first instinct is to run towards it and figure out and how I can make it better and how I can actually make an impact for the world, for society. Therefore, the first part of the talk, I really want to focus on the human part of AI. So, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, has this amazing famous quote, which is AI will make us more human, not less. And I think with all the leadership going on, the changes with leadership going on at OpenAI and Microsoft, it's a very important talk to have because a lot of people have the idea that as AI technology will rise, we will get disconnected, we will lose connection and contact with other human beings. But I actually have a opposing perspective. I think that as AI rises and there's more demand for this technology and we use it more and more in our daily lives, actually, there will be a demand for human connectivity. So it's a very important perspective to have because as we move on, a leader, you have a group of people depending on you, believing in your values. And therefore, there is an intrinsic separation in line between what is an AI and what's a human. So really want to make that clear. And again, rephrasing to the word of leader. If you're watching this talk, you don't have to be a CEO, you don't have to be a founder, you don't have to be an executive, a CMO, a CFO, an entrepreneur, a manager, a director. You can be a student that wants to be a CEO, such as me. Um, you know, you may want to maybe manage or lead the team in a small startup. You may want to be the leader in your class. You are the leader in your family. You are the leader in your group of friends. So we're always being a leader unconsciously. And we're always pushing an idea and pushing an influence without noticing it. And this is the 2023 Oxford description of a leader, the person who leads or commands a group, organization, or country. Therefore, you're always standing for something, standing up for a value. And so, this talk, while it is specialized and focused for executives and people in the C suite, I do want you to, whatever you are in whichever path of life, do take some actions and contents and ideas from this talk. And even if the only idea that you take is that you're a leader of all times, please be it, because I do think it's one of the most important. And taking that into account, getting into that leader mindset, there's currently what I was talking about in the beginning, a fact going around in society, which is AI is advancing at a rapid pace and it poses a threat for the future. It is something every leader and every person has to be aware of, because AI is truly a technology that we currently do not have all the information on, and we cannot completely handle and control it, right? Because it is so new, it is so unpredictable. However, what I do want you to approach and change the mindset of is the way that you see this. So, group one, which is currently the majority of society, sees this as yes, it is such a risk for society. We have to stop it or control it, especially not teaching the kids about it. It will fry their brains. We need to be scared. And of course, I'm exaggerating this statement to make it a little more dramatic. However, it is a really big part of how people are thinking about AI. But then there's this other group, group number two, which I find is mostly the people that are working on that technology, which are in the tech industry. And it's a complete niche industry. It's very hard to break into the language, the skills. I completely understand. But what I really value about them, or what I really have come to understand and appreciate, is their mindset, their solution oriented mindset towards these new technologies, towards these new frontiers. So, as you can see, they also agree with the fact or the statement. They say yes, but the way they approach it is completely different. We definitely should research the potential downfalls and work closely with it to understand its mechanics and learn how to stop it in case of its spiraling. So you can see as one is scared, let's hide it, let's run away from it. And group number two is we know it's dangerous, we know there's a possibility of it going wrong, but what can we do now? So in the future, we decrease that percentage. We decrease that possibility or that likelihood of it going wrong. So this solution-oriented mindset, this possibility mindset of how can it be more good than it can do bad, is something every leader should have and should approach with before, integrating AI into their operations. The agenda for our talk: how to ask the important questions, how to enhance your company culture, and how to trust that gut feeling. Three things every CEO, entrepreneur, founder, leader should be asking themselves and how they're leading their life, their team, or their company. Number one, how to ask the important questions. So I think everyone here who's watching this talk has experienced this at least once in their lifetime. You're sitting in a meeting, your manager, your director, the founder, or even yourself, you walk into a meeting and you are asked, or you ask one of these questions to your team: how can we maximize productivity? How can we increase sales? And how can we be more creative? And while these are completely valid and reasonable questions that do lead to real results, you can all agree with me, they are quite broad. And while, you can dissect them down and you discuss them, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of energy, and there's a lot of resources that are deployed in figuring out and answering each of them. How can AI come and change this? Well, before, let me present the previous traditional, ordinary way of answering these questions. So the question is posed, then it is delivered to the first department that needs to work on it. So let's, for the sake of this example, let's say it's the product department, the product development department. So it discusses it and analyzes the market trends and the research. It says, okay, we can, make our product bigger, we can add bonuses, we can make it simpler, so we can increase sales. Amazing. Of course, it takes a lot more time than 1 to 2 weeks, but using it as for the sake of the example. Then the product development department passes it on to the marketing team, which works on it for 3 to 4 weeks. Again, more or less time, but that's kind of the average. It creates a campaign, it creates, again, analyzes what the consumer wants, what it's thinking, and there's some communication, but it's definitely quite few between the two groups. Then it is all bundled up together, and there's a result. Usually it's 5 to 15% increase or change in results, and that's actually a very positive outlook to how the economy, especially for me in the fashion luxury industries, things are looking. LVMH, one of the leading players in luxury and fashion, about 2 quarters ago was 22% up in sales and revenue, and now it's just declaring a 9% increase. So as you can see, it's a very gloomy outlook, but it's a very few percentage increase. However, what happens when AI is brought into the conversation? So the same problem. The question is posed: how can we bring in more sales? However, this time the AI is acting in between as an interlocutor between the manager, the director, the founder, and the marketing team and the product development team. And so as you can see, the first thing that we reduce is time. Before it was 1 to 2 weeks on one team and then 3 to 4 weeks on the other, and now we have 2 to 3 weeks in total. And as any entrepreneur, founder, business person will know, time is money. So the fact that you're saving time is like the best resource that you can save. However, how does this work? The AI has been previously trained by the product development team and by the marketing team, feeding it documentation on your company, market research, trends, past sales, past customer analysis, etc. So when this question is posed, the AI can actually respond with not only a creative and a real solution, but one that is actually tailored to who you are as a company. And this was actually a real case study made by McKinsey and Co. a few years ago, in which they did this exact example. They had the AI trained by two teams, and then when the CEO asked the questions such as how can we maximize productivity, how can we maximize profits, the CEO often thought like, okay, we have to have a bigger marketing campaign budget. We have to have more meetings. The AI actually told him quite the opposite. The problem wasn't in the marketing budget, it wasn't in it not having enough meetings or having enough systems in place. It was all to do with the communication that both teams were having. Because one was more technical and the other one was more creative. The phrases that each of them expected were getting lost in translation. So, what the AI told him was, look, the problem is not in your teams, the problem is in how they communicate. Try to fix that. Sales increased, resources saved, and time, let's not even talk about the benefits of that. So I just think it's a very, very positive outlook because you change it from being a line of command to a conversation, which is always better in every company. Quite a small statistic, but 75% of businesses saw revenue growth from adopting AI. McKinsey and Co. again, 2023, from this exact same study. So the numbers never lie. And walking, talking again and walking in the same direction about time, nearly 60% of workers surveyed estimate they could save 6 or more hours a week. So almost a full work day if this AI system in which you have a conversation with it, in which it knows your company, is implemented. And now we're seeing companies take big, broad steps. So, for example, Gucci at Kering, it changed its entire creative director. It spent millions, thousands, on its new marketing campaign, but the sales are still the same. So a lot of brands, especially fashion luxury brands, look to these big milestones and big KPIs to change everything for them. However, as one of my favorite authors from Atomic Habits, James Clear, says, it is so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. So things such as integrating the AI, slowly feeding it the information, can really generate incredible amounts of revenue and returns on investment, but just this tiny little action, this 1% better each day. And a good idea to implement it, very simple one, you can use it for your personal life as well for organization, is Notion AI. So it has been introduced for a couple months now. However, the first version could only, help you complete emails, help you summarize ideas, but now it is actually trained on all the documents in your workspace or database. So, for example, I've been using it with my colleagues these past couple of weeks, and we usually have a lot of meetings across different departments, with different partners, with different brands, etc. And so we have many meeting notes, we have many documents, and sometimes it can be so time consuming to find one, see it's the wrong one, have to go back. And so by just asking the AI, could you summarize last week's meeting points for me? And can you connect into this new document that I'll write for this new partnership? So the AI doesn't only retrieve that information, but it can answer questions about the documents about my company. So it's a great help. Encourage everyone to try it. It is currently free, so take advantage of it. Now, for the second part, it's enhancing your company culture, which Gen Z, it is very soon coming and is starting to come into the workforce. And it's a generation, I mean, it's my generation, and we have really strong values, we have really strong ethics um, on how a company works, on how a company treats its workers. It also, it's a very strong marking point to if we're going to buy from them, if we're going to be a loyal customer to them. So it is definitely something that a leader or an executive should have in mind. I want to remark this quote by David de Kremer, the founder and director of the Center on AI Technology for Humankind at the National University of Singapore. So he develops the following idea. We can use machines for good if we are clear about what our human identity is and the value we want to create for a humane society. One of the very important things that a leader should have in place before implementing AI systems is the fact that we are still human. And we have to stand strong in our values and who we are and what you believe in. Because again, you have a group of people relying on you, looking up to you. And if you just let the AI, guide you with its ideas, its missions, it is very easy to get lost in the noise. And then you're going to end up somewhere, yes, because you always end up at a different point, but somewhere that most likely you will not recognize. And you will try to understand what happened. How did I, derive from my goal, derive from the main path? Um, so it's really important to stay strong in your values, to see an AI as a tool, as an extra helping hand with a different perspective, but not as your leader. And taking that into account, this is a survey made on employees, again by McKinsey and Co., asking what can a robot do better than your manager, and what can your manager do better than a robot. And I'm not going to go deep dive into the statistics due to the length of time and to the other speakers, which I'm very excited to hear, by the way. But as you can see, the skills that a manager can do better than a robot, it's of course a lot of soft skills, a lot of emotional skills. Because even though AI, can pep talk you and can have nice phrases to respond to you, it will never have that human connectivity. At least not now. We never know in the future. Um, but it is something that leads me on to my next point in where is AI used in the C-suite, especially in developing soft skills. We have three main points: simulations for better responses, to detect problems early on, and the third one, to manage and tweak systems. So, number one, getting coached by an AI. 24% is the rise percentage of hours that US and European workers will spend on soft skills. So, as AI, leading back to my idea at the beginning of the talk, as the demand for AI tools rises and we start using them more and more in our life, also the demand for human connectivity will start to rise. And therefore, workers, employees, leaders will start to focus more on their soft skills and their personal approach to people than all these other tasks, which will eventually be automated. So, a good way to approach this and to start implementing this into your company is before a meeting or a presentation, leaders can practice interactions with AI avatars representing team members. So it is based on the narrative. AI would generate possible arguments, assess persuasiveness, and give feedback to make communication more effective. Even though you have been in communication for such a long time, you have been a leader in many positions, you're always going to struggle with some certain challenge and with some certain communication, especially based on the employee. Maybe you have to lay off a lot of people because of the economic downturn, and you're really not comfortable with that because you have really never done it before. So, having this capability of training with an AI as well, removing the shame of training with another person, because sometimes getting a coach, commuting to it, also kind of being fearful of that relationship or the privacy issues, delays your time, delays your action, delays your momentum. So having an AI that you can practice this with, not generate a relationship, not anything but a simulation, is incredibly effective. Number two, detect problems early on. As your startup starts scaling, as your company grows bigger, or if you're placed in a huge organization, there are going to be, of course, many microaggression problems. And talking about Gen Z and its strong values in the workplace, it is up to you as a leader to really enforce that culture. But sometimes it's really hard because you're managing 20 different tasks, you're managing 20 different um, people and problems and teams, that certain microaggressions or issues might go unadversed. And while yes, there are people in the company that are specialized on handling it can also bypass them because they're also busy with many other things. So how can AI help? It can detect microaggressions by analyzing written or verbal communications and suggest alternatives and provide feedback. So an AI that is integrated within your Slack, for example, of course, there's a lot of privacy policy and ethical issues that would have to be surrounded, um, but can detect tiny microaggressions or can analyze the syntax between an employee's and a director's communication, for example, or between two employees, two directors, and detect if one is being aggressive towards another, if one is being unfair towards another, and can raise an alert to the director in charge of that team or even to you as a company leader that there's something that needs to be fixed. As well, based on simple voice detection, AI can identify individuals and groups that take over a conversation, leaving no space for others to contribute to the discussion. And as a leader, as a confident person, you're always the one to take charge, and it's very easy. I'm very much like that. I enjoy talking so much and sharing my opinion, and sometimes because you're so involved with your opinion, so you have so many to-do lists in your head that you forget to include others. You forget that others might also have a voice, might also have an opinion, and it's something a leader has to come to terms with. However, instead of having to deal with it and constantly remind yourself and write post-its on your computer or reminders on your phone, there's an AI that throughout different meetings can analyze the voice detection and see who talks the most, and can raise an alert to you like, hey, this person on your team hasn't talked at all, or you have been talking this much in meetings. Because at the end of the day, that person's in your team for a reason, right? They might be shy at expressing their opinions, etc. However, you brought them in for a reason. They're working there for a reason. And the idea that they have might be life changing for the company, or it might be simple that it just resolves the issue that you're on. But either way, it might be beneficial. For manage and tweak systems, I just want to make a quick disclaimer, which is AI is not a proficient and perfect tool. Again, it requires constant engagement, it requires constant interaction. And more than that, it requires a lot of ethics, ethics considerations, because AI, this voice analysis, the voice detection as well, in the Zooms or the meetings, it can be biased towards, cultures, ethnicities, etc. And you don't want that. We want a diverse and inclusive AI system and company culture. So it is vital to have an eye on it. However, also a quick example of how AI is also beneficial in managing and tweaking systems is IBM deployed its Opportunity Team Builder AI. So it is a solution to identify the best candidate to join a sales team based on their social skills and predict the impact each member will have on the sales team overall performance. However, it doesn't stop there. As the team members are added to the team, the tool continuously calculates the gaps and skills needed until an optimal team is formed, and it continuously analyzes the value each member is producing to this team. Because at the end of the day, you want, the best outcomes for your company. Therefore, you want the best people and the best systems. And sometimes this is measured by marketing KPIs and ROIs, but that also involves a lot more time to measure. It also involves a lot more resources, and involves a lot more usage of money. And this is just a way to save a bit more money, save a bit more time, and ensure that your team is being efficient. So for our third and last point is trust that gut feeling. And this is something I think is so important, and much more leaders are starting to talk about it, but we have heard that entrepreneur, that CEO, that founder that just said, I trusted my gut and it turned out fine. And while we've all trusted our gut in one point or another in life, sometimes in business that can be very hard to convey and very hard to explain. Because business is such a numerical, logical system, and then intuition and gut feeling, it's very spiritual, it's very emotional. Vanessa Gingori, the chief business officer of Condé Nast Britain, which she made an amazing talk for the business of fashion. You can view it on YouTube. I highly recommend you to view it. She tackles this topic in a very interesting way, because she says the following: let your intuition be the starting point. Intuition is about a subconscious understanding of something. Also, Ray Dalio, the amazing economist, investor, touches on this point in a different perspective, in which is that all the economic cycles that are happening in history, also social, political, they have happened before. However, because they haven't happened in our lifetime, we perceive them as different. We perceive them as completely new, trying to figure them out. But usually it's a cycle that repeats. So this is connected to intuition because, as she says, it is a subconscious understanding of something. That intuition comes from somewhere, from an experience, from someone. It means that that feeling, someone else has already had it before. But how are you going to implement it to change it? How are you going to translate it to a board of investors, to your team? And this can all happen with the use of AI. So there's an AI branch titled Predictive Analysis, which uses data mining, machine learning, and statistical algorithms to analyze current and historical data to make predictions about future events or trends. In simpler words, it's an AI that can analyze your past and predict your future. Of course, it's much more complicated than that, but that's its common function. How can it be used? A fashion case study example. So, in the fashion industry, one of the biggest problems is the constant change of creative directors or designers. We can see brands such as Gucci struggling with this, having the maximalist empire with Alessandro Michele, going back down to the minimalist empire with Sabato e Sarno, but still having no increase or changing sales whatsoever. But then we see brands such as Louis Vuitton, which has which hasn't changed that many creative directors, and it has maintained itself like this, but then as well sales increase because each of these creative directors has been able to interpret the house codes in such an amazing way. uh, so that's one of the major problems in the fashion industry, and it's very hard to try and assess a creative director before he comes into the house, before he creates his first collection, because you have to see how he or she interacts with the archive, with the house codes, with the values, with its history. So, how can AI come and simplify this process? So, inside a fashion brand, inside a fashion house, there's multiple parts of the company, multiple parts of the story. However, three of the main players are, of course, the design team, the creative or styling team, the marketing team, and the business team or the product development team. So, each of these teams speaks a completely different language. As business people, we see the numbers, we see the data, we see the graphs, we see the sales, we see the quarterly revenues. However, designers think in terms of colors, they think in terms of textures, they think in terms of architecture and shapes. And then stylists and the creative marketing team think in terms of music, they think in terms of moods, of pictures. So trying to translate the same idea between all these teams isn't only time consuming, but can lead to misunderstandings and some really awful collections, as we have seen, that don't really cause sales, and that you look at them and you go, is that really Gucci? Is that really the brand that I'm thinking? Um, Therefore, if all these notions were given to an AI, so the styling team talks to the AI, again, going back to that communication, talks to the AI and says, this is the mood for the season, this is what we're looking for. Here's our brief. The design team, this is the shapes that we're going for, these are the silhouettes, here you go. The creative director, this is the entire storytelling for the collection, this is what I want to portray. The AI analyzes all of this, plus all the research teams' market values, consumer trends, etc., and creates a brief that is understandable for each of the teams, especially for the creative director, because the creative director oversees all of this. So, for example, for Williams, he has to oversee the design team, he has to oversee the marketing team, he has to oversee the styling team, because he is the creator of this concept, the collection. Therefore, it creates a brief that not only, back to the Louis Vuitton example, that not only Bernard Arnault can understand, being the leader of LVMH and analyzing business, but also Pharrell Williams can understand, and they can sit at the same table discussing the same idea, but in a way that is digestible for both of them. So AI is a great help in commuting and connecting all these different worlds. For a quick statistic, 77% of all correspondents at Work 2035 study believe that in 15 years, AI will significantly speed the decision making process. And while I do believe this is true, I believe that we're going to achieve this at a much quicker rate than it is portrayed here, because AI is already helping us, starting to help us make decisions, even if small ones. It will definitely, our trust will have to increase for it to help us do big decisions. But I do think that we're going to achieve this at a way quicker rate. And so for some key takeaways from the talk, number one, really emphasizing this, you're a leader at all times. And again, if you took something from this talk, I really hope it is that one. Your voice matters, your opinion matters, your influence, your values, your ideas. Make sure that you're pushing AI, that you're pushing your values towards the right mentality, towards a solution oriented mindset. Because at the end of the day, being afraid steals and robs you from so many opportunities and so many possibilities of things that can not only better your life, but everyone else's. Number two, make AI an active participant within your company or group or organization. At the end of the day, AI will integrate all parts of our life. So the better you start integrating it, the sooner you start integrating it, the better. However, I do think as a leader, if your employees, if your followers see you using this technology, it will generate even higher trust. And as you can see, it links teams together without having to do, you know, team building days or exercises, which are amazing and are important, but are usually short term and short lived. The AI acts as a constant communication between these teams because they're also aware of, having to be monitoring it. Number three, focus on building soft skills and automate mundane tasks. So once again, as the rise in AI, as we rise with AI, there's going to be also a rise for and a demand for human connectivity. Work on those people skills, try to connect with employees, with investors, with partners in a way that surpasses what AI is capable of. And just link it to AI. So, after you have a coffee with that partner that you want to bring on as an investor to the team, to the company, AI can help you translate your ideas into an effective email and save time. But that time that you could have invested in writing the email and explaining all your feelings and emotions through it, you actually invested it in taking a coffee with the person, in looking at them in the eye. And you save this time and use an AI to automate the task and just seal the deal. And number four, challenge the past and build the future. So, again, following this idea of Ray Dalio that social cycles, political cycles, economic cycles have all been repeated through history, look into the past, dig into the past. What other technologies were challenged like this? What other leaders in these positions with new technologies, with the rise of Apple, with the rise of Wi Fi, what did the leaders in those situations do? What did they think? How did they act? What methods or systems did they employ? And then readapt them. Ask AI about it. AI has so many, like AI is the superhuman computer of Google. Again, saving you time, explaining concepts to you that otherwise you would have to read 3 articles to understand. So take advantage of that capability and build towards the future. Create a strategy of that past and make sure to transmit that trust to your entire company and organization, your colleagues, your family members, your friends. Thank you once again. My name is Isabela Maldonado. My LinkedIn, you can reach me there. I'm very active, so just send me a message. I'm always open to listening and hearing and discussing with other entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders, as well. Any other person that wants to learn about AI, software developers. I'm always open up to learning and listening to different perspectives. Also, that's my personal business email for any inquiries or subjects. And thank you once again. Thank you, Frankie, and thank you, everyone. It was lovely sharing this with you. Have a nice day.